Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, my beautiful hot messes. My name is Mistress Lavender, and today I'm reading The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. I'm on page 108, and I'm on chapter 10, Use the Demonic Power of Words to Sow Confusion. Before we begin, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn your post notifications on. Let's start. It is hard to make people listen. They are consumed with their own thoughts and desires, and have little time for yours. The trick is making them listen is to say what they want to hear, to fill their ears with whatever is pleasant to them. This is the essence of seductive language. Inflame people's emotion with loaded phrases, flatter them, comfort their insecurities, involve them in fantasies, sweet words and promises. And not only will they listen to you, they will lose their will to resist you. Keep your language vague, letting them read into it what they want. Use writing to strip fantasies and to create an idealized portrait of yourself. Keys to seduction. We rarely think before we talk. It is human nature to say the first thing that comes into our head, and usually what comes first is something about ourselves. We primarily use words to express our own feelings, ideas, and opinions. Also to complain and to argue. This is because we are generally self-absorbed. The person who interests us most is our own self. To a certain extent, this is inevitable, and through much of our lives, there is nothing much wrong with it. We can function quite well this way. In seduction, however, it limits our potential. You cannot seduce without an ability to get outside your own skin and inside another person's, piercing their psychology. The key to seductive language is not the words you utter or your seductive tone of voice. It is a radical shift in perspective and habit. You have to stop saying the first thing that comes to your mind. You have to control the urge to prattle and vent your opinions. The key is to use words as a tool not for communicating true thoughts and feelings, but for confusion, delighting, and intoxicating. The difference between normal language and seductive language is the difference between noise and music. Noise is a constant in modern life, something irritating we tune out if we can. Our normal language is like noise. People may half listen to us as we go on about our lives, but just as often their thoughts are a million miles away. Every now and then, their ears prick up when something we say touches on them. But this lasts only until we return to yet another story about ourselves. As early as childhood, we learn to tune out this kind of noise, particularly when it comes from our parents. Music, on the other hand, is seductive, and it gets under our skin. It is intended for pleasure. A melody or rhythm stays in our blood for days after we've heard it, altering our moods and emotions, relaxing or exciting us. To make music instead of noise, we must say things that please, things that relate to people's lives, that touch their vanity. If they have many problems, you can produce the same effect by distracting them, focusing their attention away from themselves by saying things that are witty and entertaining, or that make the future seem bright and hopeful. Promises and flattery are music to anyone's ears. These are words designed to move people and lower their resistance. Flattery is seductive language in its purest form. Its purpose is not to express a true or real feeling, but only to create an effect on the recipient. Learn to sniff out the parts of a person's ego that need validation, and then aim your flattery directly at such insecurities. Make it a surprise, something no one else has thought to flutter before, something you can describe as a talent or positive quality that others had not noticed. The most anti-seductive form of language is argument. How many silent enemies do we create by arguing? There is a superior way to get people to listen and be persuaded: humor and a light touch. Laughter and applause have a domino effect. Once your listeners have laughed, they are more likely to laugh again. In this lighthearted mood, they are more apt to listen. A subtle touch and a bit of irony give you room to persuade them. Persuade them, move them to your side, mock your enemies. This is the seductive form of argument. If speaking before a group, your seduction language should aim at your audience's emotions, for emotional people are easier to deceive. Everyone shares emotion, and no one feels inferior to a speaker who stirs up their feelings. The crowd bonds together. Everyone contagiously experiences the same passionate sentiments. The emotions you are trying to arouse should be strong ones. Do not speak of friendship and disagreement. Speak of love and hate. And it is crucial to try to feel something of the emotions you are trying to elicit. You will be more believable this way. The goal of seductive language is often to create a kind of hypnosis. You are distracting people, lowering their defenses, making them more vulnerable to suggestion. Learn the hypnosis lessons of repetition and affirmation, key elements in putting a subject to sleep. Affirmation is simply the making of strong positive statements, like the hypnosis commands. Seductive language should have a kind of boldness, which will cover up a multitude of sins. Your audience will be so caught up in your bold language that they won't have time to reflect on whether or not it is true. Never say, I don't think the other side made a wise decision. Say, we deserve better, or they have made a mess of things. Affirmative language is active language, full of verbs, imperatives, and short sentences. Cut out I believe, perhaps. In my opinion, head straight for the heart. Learn to incorporate seductive language into your writing, particularly in any letters to your target. With the intimate letter, you are in complete control of the dynamic, able to move your victim's emotions in the proper direction, infect them with desire. It is best not to begin your correspondence until at least several weeks after your initial contact. Let your victims get an impression of you. You seem intriguing, yet you show no particular interest in them. When you sense that they are thinking about you, this is the time to hit them with your first letter. Any desire you express for them will come as a surprise. Your vanity will be tickled and they will want more. Design your letters as homages to your targets. Make everything you write come back to them, as if they were all you could think about. A deliverous effect. If you tell an anecdote, make it somehow relate to them. Your correspondent is a kind of mirror. You are holding up to them. They get to see themselves reflected through your desire. A letter can suggest emotion by seemingly disoriented, rambling from one subject to another. Clearly, it is hard for you to think. Your love has unhinged you. Disordered thoughts are exciting thoughts. Do not waste time on real information. Focus on feelings and sensations. Using expressions that are ripe with connotation. Do not become sentimental. It is tiring and too direct. Better to suggest the effect your target has on you than to gush about how you feel. Stay vague and ambiguous, allowing the reader the space to imagine and fantasize. The goal of your writing is not to express yourself, but to create emotion in the reader. Spreading confusion and desire. You will know that your letters are having the proper effect when your targets come to mirror your thoughts, repeating words you wrote, whether in their own letters or in person. This is the time to move to the more physical and erotic. Use language that quivers with sensual connotation, or better still, suggest sexuality by making your letters shorter, more frequent, and even more disoriented than before. There is nothing more erotic than the short, abrupt note. Your thoughts are unfinished. They can only be completed by the other person. Symbol, the clouds. In the clouds, it is hard to see the exact forms of things. Everything seems vague. The imagination runs wild, seeing things that are not there. Your words must lift people into the clouds, where it is easy for them to lose their way. I'm stopping there at 114. The next episode will be chapter 11, 115. Pay attention to detail. Again, my name is Mistress Lavender. I'm reading The Art of Seduction. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye.